In Chapter 3 of my Deserts of India series, we briefly glimpsed into the lives of two pregnant desert foxes and what life is like during the peak of winter. In this chapter, we'll take to the skies and explore some of the resident and migratory bird life that call this great desert their home. Whilst we're at it, we'll also keep an eye open for the mothers of winter and give them names based on their characteristics and personalities. Stay tuned for the marvels of flight and the many stories behind them. Welcome back to the channel. My name is Kenneth Lawrence and this is Chapter 4 of my Deserts of India series, happening entirely in the Little Rann of Kutch. This time, it's not just the sky where we look out for avian activity, but we'll also scout for bird life on land and water. Good morning guys, it is Jan 6th and we're going to head out into the run and we're going to try chasing some birds today. It was another early morning before dawn, driving through the freezing cold. Drives like these feel like they take forever, especially when you're looking forward to being somewhere. Large birds of prey and waterfowl were on the agenda. Immediately, a greater spotted eagle had greeted us. It was still very dull as the sun hadn't risen as yet. My shooting angle wasn't the best and I had to figure out a way of going around the eagle for a frontal shot. Moving slowly was the best way to approach it without scaring it off. I stopped and took shots along the way. You have to keep the bird calm and give it time to get used to you. The winter sun was taking its own sweet time to shine through, so we continued on our way to see what else we could find. In December 2019, I photographed a moment of this greater spotted eagle with a black drongo repeatedly dive bombing into it. Drongos are notoriously aggressive and they take on birds much larger than themselves when they feel threatened. After a bit of scouting, we found our second sighting, an imperial eagle sitting on a Salvadora tree. This native tree species is used as a natural toothbrush, and it's been in use as early as 7,000 years ago by the Babylonians. I used a similar approach in terms of shot taking. Shoot from a distance, then move in closer and take another shot. The wingspan of a large female can cross 7 feet in length and she can weigh as much as 4.5 kilograms. I got so close that I couldn't fit the entire eagle in my frame anymore. After a couple of eagles, we went over to the nearby wetlands.
The morning has been pretty good filming raptors. We got the greater spotted eagle and the imperial eagle. And now we are closer towards the wetlands, and there is a carcass of a crane in the water.
This partially submerged carcass was the perfect hotspot for carnivorous opportunists.
And towards the left of it, in the background on a patch of land, is another imperial eagle.
I was hoping it would come to feed on the remains, but it seemed to have already had its fill. Tiny waders as light as 23 grams are looking out for invertebrates to munch on. This little fella decided that bathing mid-breakfast was more important. Perhaps the temperature of the water was just right. Unlike the eagles, I couldn't approach these miniatures. I had to wait at a distance and let them come to me. You could carry 8 stints together and they'd still be lighter than your average smartphone. This black-winged stilt is also looking out for a meal. Their legs are literally a foot in length, and they've evolved to wade through slightly deeper waters in search of grub. Not all birds let you close in the gap. This shy kestrel seemed to be waiting patiently during my first shot from afar. It took off through the dense heat waves even before I could approach closer. Here's another shy bird that's equally hard to approach, the common crane. Like the eagles and the stints, they too are migratory birds, making the Little Rann of Kutch their wintering home. It's not easy to get frontal shots of them, as they feel safer turning around and keeping people out of sight. Cranes are omnivores and they have a varied diet. This small group is busy feeding on grains in the mud. Whilst most of them are camera shy, there are a select few that don't mind you being there. We continued our search for more raptors. With empty horizons all around us, it was becoming increasingly challenging. We found more plastic than the subjects we were looking for. Unfortunately, even the desert isn't spared of human waste. On our way back, we noticed another submerged carcass. The greater spotted eagle that we first saw was feeding on it. There's not one, but 2 of them. The protruding portion on this eagle's chest is called a crop. It's where the raptor stores food when its stomach has no room for more. Shovelers and other waterfowl catch up on a little snooze nearby. These are bar-headed geese. They're one of the tallest flying birds in the world, flying over the Himalayas on their way here. There's something in the sky. A marsh harrier. another bird of prey. The greater spotted eagle takes notice of the intruder and isn't happy. It decides to chase the harrier away. The eagle has size on its side, and there's no way it will let another steal its meal. The minor commotion set off the bar-headed geese. As the evening came, we wanted to pay a quick visit to the desert fox. But all we got was an empty den. From the footage that I filmed a day prior, I noticed that the female had very feline-like features and mannerisms. I decided to name her Imli after Aditya's adopted cat. Since birds were our priority for the day, we moved on from the den. Our rapidly extending shadows meant that we were quickly losing shooting light. A few moments ago, there was ample sunlight, but suddenly it felt like a race against sunset. We found a few pelicans. They were so close, in fact, that I used my 200 to 400mm zoom lens instead of the 800. Pelicans can be extremely shy, so I took my first few shots from the back of the gypsy. Ideally, you want the horizon closer to your subject in order to create depth that looks rich. Getting out of the vehicle and shooting from the ground would be the only way to achieve that. For some reason, the pelicans didn't seem to mind me approaching on foot. Normally, they'd fly off on seeing any human form nearby. I was crossing boundaries and pushing my luck, but they didn't flinch one bit. Just before sunset, we visited the fox den once more and were greeted again by an empty den. Perhaps the noisy neighbors were causing too much of a ruckus. Trash has made its way into too many areas of this desert. Here, you can see it right at the point of grazing. The Little Rann of Kutch is turning into the Litter Rann of Kutch.
We started a little bit late today, and it's the first time we've left after sunrise, but at least we managed to get a little bit of breakfast in the system, get some energy to keep us going. And Aditya is taking me to the wetlands. We haven't been there before, and we're hoping to get a lot of water birds, some raptors, and some other bird life as well. I believe there are over 200 species that can be found over there. The weather right now is as low as 10 degrees Celsius. In an open moving car like this, it feels like it's single digits.
We may have been late, but the sun was still burning through the chilly morning mist. At the periphery of the Little Rann of Kutch, this other wetland is home to over hundreds of species of birds. Many types of plants and animals can also be found here. My camera on land couldn't do justice to this rich ecosystem. Only an aerial view could come close to exhibiting its true wonder. Every dazzling speck is a reason to protect these wetlands. This isn't even a fraction of the actual numbers. Marshes like these aren't just a habitat to countless forms of life, but they also control floods, trap carbon dioxide, and recharge groundwater supplies, amongst many others. Small waders migrating from the Arctic enjoy feeding by the edges of the pool. Many wetlands are unfortunately considered wasteland, and one day this too might be claimed by industrial giants. After the wetlands, it was time to explore the nearby fields. This is a crested lark, a very hungry crested lark. They feed on seeds and grains, and they also have a taste for insects. The delicious ones are underground. In the wild, hide and seek has its own version called hide or get eaten. Agricultural fields give comfort to some birds that have learned to leverage the availability of free food and water. Hundreds of sandpipers visit this plantation every year. I photographed them in 2019, and it was great to see them again. The water flowing through this irrigation canal originates from the Narmada River in Madhya Pradesh, over 600 kilometers away. These currents are a direct lifeline for more than 1 million farmers and an indirect lifeline to several millions more. We were on the lookout for a hidden gem. Another bird of prey that has been the unfortunate victim of poaching and superstitious beliefs. We reached the location. Now all we had to do was find the bird. After pinpointing it, we had to find a good spot to film from.
The lighting on the Indian eagle owl is completely backlit and very harsh, so we need to figure out a way of navigating around this water body and get a different angle. The cliffs here are very steep, and it's going to be a very slushy fall down, hard and then slushy and then completely wet. we've managed to come down at eye level with the Indian eagle owl, and I'm actually almost at I'm rather at the banks of this water body.
This is the Indian eagle owl, the largest species of owl found in India. A number of rituals involving their capture and killing have been documented.
It's a pretty lazy day for the owl. It's just about noon at the moment, and it's nosing in the grass outside its nest.
They've even been starved and beaten because their tormentors believed that they would speak and predict their future. All superstitions begin within small minds and end up having very dire consequences for our wildlife, both on a national and international scale. Right on the patch of land below the Baya weaver's nests is a ray of hope for the species. This young chick that will ensure the future of its kind is in the safest place it can be. Away from natural predators like foxes, jackals, reptiles, and even feral dogs.
It's evening now, and we're heading back to the spot where we saw the very first fox den. Let's hope we get the female with her partner this time. She was alone the last time, and it will be wonderful to see activity of the mating pair and get those intimate, precious moments in slow motion. While we were driving through the village, our guide Ayub bhai happened to see two spotted owlets sitting just underneath the roof of one of these village buildings. So we've stopped, and on the 800mm lens, it's so close. The two of them are literally filling the frame.
Spotted owlets have adapted to live amongst human settlements and can even be found in many cities. Other smaller animals that have also adapted become easy prey. Unfortunately, these little owls are also considered bad omens by the superstitious. We continue to the den without wasting time. Of course, some rural traffic had to be navigated through first.
That's a lot of cattle.
The den had no external activity.
We stayed outside the fox den for a little bit, but we weren't able to see it. It was probably inside or out somewhere, no idea. We're just scanning the surroundings to see if it is outside somewhere.
Hoopoo feathers from the previous day were all that we found. The winter sun went on to disappear, and we didn't see a fox for the second consecutive evening. Filming and photographing wildlife can be a painful gamble. You have to teach yourself to love it even when you don't have any sightings. And that is easier said than done. It was another late morning for us. This time, we were heading to a different part of the wetlands for our third day of birding. Several species of small and medium-sized birds congregate besides this bridge. Under it is a fresh source of running water. Just like us, these birds were also beginning their day. There seems to be enough space for everyone. Or maybe not. A pied kingfisher attentively looks down into the water stream. It's hungry and it's trying to identify which fish it should strike. Locking on to moving subjects with high accuracy requires immense skill and experience. You can't afford to waste energy on repeated attempts. Shooting from the bridge helped me get intimate eye-level shots that I wouldn't otherwise be able to film. Irrigation water that comes here from the Narmada River often overflows at various points. Lack of foolproof planning, improper management, and the use of poor quality materials aren't just resulting in the wastage of unaccountable amounts of water, they're also resulting in altering of the ecology that the desert's flora and fauna have adapted for. Migratory birds might also have their cycles affected in the long run. On our way to the wetlands were grasslands, and they too were teeming with life. The point where dry land meets the marsh is where I set up my camera. For company, I had bird poop that looked more like it came from a mammal. Several different species of waterfowl can be found here as well. I was far away from them, but that made for a great habitat shot, with direct sunlight bringing out the rich colors of the scene. This was the last evening of my second trip, and I wanted to see the desert fox one more time. Overflowing water from the irrigation canals has also reached the inside of the wildlife sanctuary. We had to cross it with enough momentum to avoid sinking in. We reached the den during the event of sunset. We were very late, but we still had hope. We positioned the gypsy in a way where I could film that classic sunset silhouette. I waited in hope for the fox to walk by, but she never came and the sun had set. Just a short while after, we saw movement. I only got a few seconds to film this pregnant fox again. And that was enough time to give me a glance into her personality. One that is very protective and very private. The dense vegetation above her den will shelter her from threats of land and sky. They will make her invisible. And so I decided to call this fox Secret. Over the next couple of months, I'll make multiple visits to the Little Rann of Kutch to document the journeys of both Secret and Imli. Along the way, I'll visit more den sites and bring you heartwarming moments of the little ones. I'll show you the mistakes I made, the different strategies that I used, and how I eventually became a part of the den. If you enjoyed this video, then give it a thumbs up and subscribe for more. Your support is going to help me build this channel and community and take it a long way. I'll see you in chapter 5.